Howdy, this is Rod with the Jonah Project. I have one more little idea. It was something that came to me yesterday. I was thinking, and the reason I was thinking is because I'd had a couple of examples told to me about this generation and the differences. I spend a lot of time looking at the differences and having a lot of concerns about the people that are disconnected from their three-dimensional necessary reality, called the real world, not the ethereal matrix of internet and social media. I worry about young people a whole lot. And I came up with an acronym, and it's BEN. The BEN people. It's the before internet people. Now, the first time I had an opportunity to know anything about something that was internet-like or something along those lines was, I think, in the late 80s. Is at the university I went to, and the university had a way to connect digitally long before anybody else out here did. And I got to see this stuff, and I thought, well, yeah, that's interesting, but that's just text. I mean, what are you going to do with that? That's just some text that you have that's green on the screen, and it just doesn't do a whole lot for me. That was my first touch of internet stuff, and I was in my mid to late 20s, kind of thing. And since I was a techie, yeah, it was interesting. It was neat. I'd been programming and messing with computing since I was fairly young, in my teens. I got in real early. Anyway, it was neat, but so what? Well, here we are today in 2020, and I keep up with the technical aspects of life. And I'm of that generation, and because I'm from a technical background, I've seen the movement, the overlap. I've studied the history. And the young people, and I do mean y'all probably born from maybe 95 up, you don't have any idea what we dealt with before then. It's the bias. It's called normality bias. I talk about a lot of this when I talk about psychology, when I'm just doing some general understanding talk. Normalcy bias is something that we all live with, and it is that thing which tells us this is the way reality has always been, and it can't be any other way. And buddy, that's dangerous. Normalcy bias is one of the more dangerous aspects of our psyche that we deal with, and how we deal with information. Anyway, the bin people. I call us the waste bin people. Sweep you off into the waste bin. We're the generation, we're the people that are left that knows how the world was before. We know how the world was before. And if you were born in a family that just did normal things, like have cell phones and cable and computers and just went about your life, then this is, this means nothing to you. I grew up in a world, I guess it would be like if you watched something on the Wild Wild West, where, people just did their own thing. If they were out on the trail alone, they were. For the most part, up until I didn't know anybody that had cell phones until the mid-90s, I guess, or maybe late 90s. If you went to work in the morning, the only way you communicated with your family is if you really had a reason to call, or if you had a loved one, a new one you might call on lunch break. Outside of that, you were gone all day. That's how we lived. We did our own thing. We had our own things going. We were somewhat independent. I have a problem with what we have going on today. I consider it the movement towards a monoculture. And we're phasing out a way of life that actually is necessary for life itself. Knowing how to raise food, knowing how to slaughter a chicken, knowing how to fish, knowing how to change a tire, knowing how to scratch the ground up and get some food that may give sustenance to you. That's what I grew up as. I was in the garden before I could reach above the tiller. When I couldn't reach above the tiller, then I was hoeing dirt clods, breaking them up. I learned how to do a lot of things, and what scares me is the technology we depend on is very finicky. And we have people that are absolutely addicted. And I keep up with what's happening with the addiction rate in dealing with computing. And it's actually far worse than the opioid epidemic. The fake opioid epidemic is far worse. Go educate yourself about what happens to people that don't have a life. And when I say don't have a life, I don't mean you don't go about your normal day. I mean you're not connected to the world. I feel for city people. I feel for them terribly. And I think the concrete and steel really makes people crazy. Being jammed up amongst other people makes people crazy. 1996, my doctor said, Mr. Devine, quit chasing that thing you're chasing, which was my mistress, physics and technology, and hopefully making some cash. Otherwise, you're just going to die. It's going to kill you. This thing you're doing is going to kill you. I took it to heart because I'd already seen what it had been doing to me for quite a few years. And I moved out and moved away. And it has taken me a good 20 years to feel, I don't know, I don't understand that other world anymore. I came from it, I dealt with it, damn near killed me. And I have struggled my butt off out here. You know, I've heated with wood for almost 20 years, and I got a messed up back, shoulder, neck. I can't do it this year unless somebody helps me, but I feel alive. I'm out on the little trails in the back 5 acres I have that I've chopped out, and I come out here with a machete and just make my own things, and that's how I spend time. And I work in the barn, work with my chickens, work in the garden, and I think that's part of what's killing us. We've moved so far away from what we are. And there's absolutely no way that you can't have both. There's no reason you can't have good technology, good understanding, but balance, just some balance. So I'm concerned that a lot of depression that people are dealing with is just a lack of balance. We have so much pressure on us. If you honestly want to get better, the only way you can do it is to change your behavior. That's what I did. I mean, I did the medication stuff for years and years, and I was medicated up until 2005, actually. And I finally realized, you know what? This shit's killing me. I'm not talking anymore. I don't even know who I am. And I started reading and learning and getting on my knees and giving thanks. And I got a poem for that too. It's pretty strange, but I think you'll understand where I was going to and what I was getting out of. And it was difficult to get out of the system. I'd been in the system for 20 years. Once you're in, buddy, you're in. You're reported. You're put down on paper. I got some real horror stories that happened to me just because I was a known person. Not that I'd ever done anything. I've never been in any kind of trouble. I was, try to behave myself. I don't like drawing attention to me, which is part of why this is a Jonah channel. This is a difficult thing to talk about, this kind of stuff. But I just know that there are other people like me out in the world that have had these issues, and you need help. Write about it, talk about it. Somehow or another, you got to find some peace of mind. I know you can. I know you can. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Just a little extra caveat on the end of Mr. Businessman and the happiness thing. We go after this thing that someone tells us is happiness. And honestly, happiness is that person next to you that you can love and you can talk to and you can hold. And then the next layer of happiness, I guess that joy, would be that little baby that you two get together and have. And then the rapture, ecstasy, I'd say that's when you got all you and your partner and your youngins and your faith together. And that's when the magic happens. Magic happens with joy. But when you have those three things together, this general idea of what happiness really is, it's not things, it's the things inside of you and inside of others. And that joy is that second level of connection. And I think that joy is part of that baby that comes out of it. That's that joy. See, I understand the joy when I read the Word, and it just, it brings me to tears sometimes. But then the ecstasy is when you're sitting around the table with your family, and you say a prayer, or you look at each other and say, I love you, or something. Now that's the rapture, that's the ecstasy. That's what true happiness is about. Anyway, don't be depressed. Talk to somebody, write something down. Make sure you get some sunlight or some kind of light, exercise, do what you can, and praise y'all. Hallelujah.